I just had to track me down a living, swimming myth. Couldn't be that many lakes harboring legends, right? Turns out there were few eyewitness accounts of such fish. Guess they didn't like flashing their scales as much as the fisher god. But I knew they had to exist. Why would he make up the challenge? So back to Sierra we went. She kindly asked the Fishermen's Guild and scholars to lend their assistance. They told us of a potential target. A beautiful fish, said to have the loveliest iridescent scales in the world. But it had never been caught, so it had yet to receive a proper name within academia. As if to tempt me more, we learned the locals called it the jewel fin. Catching it would be like grabbing a cloud, but the more I heard, the more I needed it. Surely it was a fool's errand. Too bad I was beside myself with determination. A being that existed somewhere between reality and rumor, I had to catch me some of that. Thus, in the coming days, whenever I found a semi-reliable lead, I would fly to the spot and cast my line. Went to salt lakes where a sip of the water would dry you to the bone. Wandered around underground streams where you couldn't see your hand in front of your face, and then every place in between. The captain, Lyria, and Vern accompanied me on my flights of fancy, but they grew tired of the pace. I wouldn't force them. I had planned to make the trip alone anyhow. All I wanted to do was find the unfindable, to catch the uncatchable. It was a good sign, honestly. They say anticipation exists right before accomplishment. Take a new sword technique. You only perfect it the day before a duel. A consequence of pre-battle nerves sending your noggin into overdrive. And this fish-off was a duel to the death for me and the fisher god. It would be the accomplishment of the century for any who lived by the rod. I was having the time of my life. But I knew I didn't have forever. We were in this skydom for a reason, and that mission had to take precedence. I decided my next search would be the last. It brought me to a labyrinthine jungle, which had claimed many adventurers in the past. I heard that somewhere inside was a spring turned monster den. One look at its bewitching twinkle would be enough to drive a man mad, and he'd throw himself into the pool to be swallowed. Relying on those exaggerated claims for guidance, I braved the forested depths to discover not a glorious spring, but a regular old bog. Ugh. Ain't no legendary fish ever lived in a place like that. But still, I cast my rod, and Vern and the captain waited with bated breath as they watched me bobber-a-bobbin'. The swamp remained quiet. I was neither overcome with anticipation nor bored from inaction. I was part of the stillness, and my rod was my connection to it. I was one with nature and leaping liver fish a bite. I tugged the fish to the surface and began to tear up as the most perfect, lustrous twinkle broke the murky waters. Turns out none of the scholars' descriptions were quite right. But this was it. This was the jewel fin of legend. How's this for a catch? I proudly displayed the jewel fin before the fisher god. Its scales glistened in iridescent waves, unreal in their beauty. Its fins ethereal and transparent, waved as if kissed by a breeze. That old coot was flabbergasted.
Slap my behind! Where in the seven skies did you find this?
That was a delicious reaction. But of course, the fisher god was a fisherman of taste, and he had a rebuttal prepared. It was a large fish, obsidian in color, whose scales seemed to drink the light like a void. Its dorsal was strong and stiff, as if to mark it as a sea king.
Whoa! 2 legendary fish? Isn't that nuts?
Both of our catches fit the criteria of the competition. It was gonna be too hard to call. Guess we couldn't complain, though. Not every day we got to see such rare specimens. Still, something had to be done. So we turned to Lyria, Vern, and the captain.
I think both are amazing. I've never seen such pretty fish.
Can't we just say you're both incredible and be done with it?
Guess two legendary fish don't make a champion. Especially when we were both set on wearing the crown. Nope, it didn't sit right with me. Our rivalry pushed the craft of fishing forward, hadn't it? There was fire in our guts, and we deserved to name a proper victor.
I compliment any bouquet.
Where are we going?
Need a mage? Oh, are we going on a field trip?
Vern saw the determination plain on our faces.
You guys aren't gonna let this go, are you? Game's back on, then.
Lyria pondered for a moment and made a suggestion.
How about whoever fishes up the most happiness? That could be interesting.
A genius suggestion. This island was under Avia's control, terrifying the population. It would be a saintly move to give them cheer with a side of full bellies. It was settled. We would go with Lyria's suggestion. He who could bring the most happiness to the island would take it. After a nod to one another, the fisher god and I set out to do some real fishing. So, who's ready to shove off? Hope we come across a good fishing spot.
In this blizzard, how are you gonna even see your rod?
Ancient technique.
Flutter stance.
Venom stick. I can hear running water. You think this here hole has a river at the bottom? Schooled like a fish. Played like a fiddle. We're just looking to fish. What if you want to be a sushi platter? Step right up.
You take the lead.
We best stay focused.
Caution before valor, as they
Can't
say.
lose
School,
focus.
they'll never see MVP.
What do you think?
Strike!
Right away.
Oh yeah! Try to
Try
keep up. Played like a fiddle. Red like a bird.
Attack already.
You got it.
Right here. Pretty sure you're breaking the laws of physics.
But I don't take no stock in your newfangled science.
Let's roll.
Go!
Put them to pieces.
We make the ultimate team!
Yes, very well done.
Agreed.
Schooled like a fish.
Fish need to live and weather this cold.
The colder the weather, the fatter the fish. Make some good barbecue.
Ooh,
Red like a book.
I learn something cool every day.
Granblue.
Just testing your
Let's
hand.
take
You
them.
got it.
Right away.
No credit for me. Sky dinner. That's the sauce. Red like a book.
You can know my aid.
That's a good
Nice work.
Ain't never let
I'm
a
not
catch
find
you
my
away.
center of focus.
Shall we?
Thank you.
Understood. A beautiful technique.
Thank you.
Ooh, that spot looks swell. This place is perfect. Let's get started.
Oh, the Gramps. Looks like the monsters caught our scent.
Curse their timing. Well, clean them up right quick.
Careful.
Nice ball.
The time is right away.
No running over here, you
Another
done.
danger awaits.
How's about
Let's get going then.
Bet you can't hit me. Keep up. School,
Domination.
school you. Come on, folks. Attack.
Indeed.
Pass away.
All hands on deck. Reel him in.
The roses shall protect you.
Let's roll.
The final song.
Whew. That takes care of that.
I wouldn't be so sure. Looks like we got a big fella on our hands next.
We don't have time for this.
Yep. And judging by his bad attitude, I don't think it's gonna let us leave without a fight.
It's right there.
Now, this here's a sight for sore eyes. Sorry, Bub. You're between us and our fishing spot. Trying to keep up. That's it. A warrior hones his art over years and years of battle. Ultimate fire! Rosetta!
Paint them red. Namaya, I'll cover you.
Ever tried fighting a shadow?
I'll clean up here.
Giant one! Gale burst! One of them overboard, didn't he? That's the bird you're going for.
Very well.
No running from me! Guy Jenner!
Toss it away. Rain on the hill.
What do you think?
Nice ball. Doctor's in.
Slayed like a fiddle, schooled like a fish.
The pond.
Where you looking?
Refreshing.
Opportunity like a gun. Come on, folks! Attack!
Indeed.
Still looking to flop it.
And make sure they stay down.
We want more.
That is taking all that damage. That has to slow it down a bit. Better try to finish it off before we get exhausted. Hey. How's about we
Let's roll.
Well done.
Okay.
Right way.
I sense limitless power in you, Rosetta.
Leave a lady her privacy. Let's not do anything rash.
Mercy me. I'm up. Over here, you shut. My hip is howling.
I'm coming.
Can't beat Mother Time, can you?
Rain on the hill. Know your limit.
Overheard is a fix.
Lovely.
Going in! Man, I love this crew. Guys, you can't hit me.
Every rose has her thorns, after all.
No running for me. MVP!
Don't mind if I do.
Guy!
Well done. No mercy. Shall we?
That was a good. Got my chest and arm all warmed up. Oh, I hope we didn't scare off the fish. Ah. Still in my golden years. Results day had arrived. Residents of Seed Hollow were gathering, waiting to see what bounty we could share.
Feast your eyes. I have caught the elusive brave scale.
The fisher god took to the podium. The largest fish in this skydom strung up behind him. The crowd was wowed by the sheer scale of the thing, and I was no exception. Should have known he'd come out with rod blazing. But I, on the other fin, took a different approach. Behold! All these humble shalmen who make their home in these very rivers. I sure wasn't gonna win through size, but maybe superior numbers would do the trick. Next, the fisher god and I began to fillet our catches, sharing sushi, soup, and ceviche of all sorts with the crowd.
The Brave Beam is delicious. And how do you beat that impact?
The shaman is just as good. It's so fresh and it's been served at the optimal temperature. Absolutely perfect.
Everywhere we looked, there were people enjoying our efforts. Even the crew were getting their fill while they could. But since it was a competition, next up was evaluations. Members of the crowd were to vote on whose catch made them feel better, both in flavor and in general happiness. One after the other, the votes piled up for the fisher god. It was starting to look hopeless. But there was a special reason I chose to serve the shaman. I wasn't panicking just yet.
Shall we call it there, friend?
I gotta hand it to you, fisher god. You serve some delicious fish. But let's see how it plays out. While I was talking, a cute little scamp, snot running down his nose and everything, cast a vote for me.
You didn't want to vote for the big fish, sweetie?
It was too big and scary. I like the small fishies.
The fisher god's breath caught for a moment, and I knew he understood my plan.
Hello.
The fisher god bowed his head and admitted I was the winner. But before I could humbly accept his withdrawal, Vern voiced honest confusion.
Looking at the votes, you're the clear winner, aren't you?
Not at all. Without this master of the rod opposite me, these results wouldn't have been possible.
He spoke from the heart. Moved me a bit to hear that he understood me through and through.
It's ordinary fish, ones we consume daily, that bring us health and happiness. Delicacies shine because they're a rare treat, but well-being is built on something more than rarity. Hearing that youngster speak, I understood what Yodarha was trying to tell me. The fact I couldn't surmise for myself is proof of my hubris.
He continued.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, a child's smile will do more for a village's well-being than all the legendary fish in the sea. That's what I should have been aiming for.
A smirk sat on his lips as he turned to me.
Congratulations, Yodarha. Even had I won this competition, I concede in our fish-off. You are the rightful victor. I've learned much from our duel. I thank you from the depths of my heart.
Never in my days had I met a more worthy gentleman. And you, good sir, helped this old minnow rediscover his love of the sport. After the voting had concluded, the townsfolk were still savoring our dishes. Both Brave Bream and Shalman were a hit. The satisfied smiles of the people were evidence of this. But as all good things must come to an end, so too did the feast. Despite the mountain of fish we started with, not a single fillet was left. I turned to the fisher god, a gleam in my eye. And though he just admitted defeat, his eye held the same twinkle. You want a race to see who can get this place spick and span quicker? We were no longer rivals. We were brothers of the rod. And this little competition would tide us over till our next real match. We were shopping at Sierro's when the merchant herself popped up from behind the counter. Apparently, she'd been waiting on us, ready to share the latest seaworthy gossip.
A certain rumor swam earlier this month. You see, people are saying there are 2 fisher gods working the skydom. Would you know anything about that?
Vern and Lyria gasped in surprise before turning to give me a curious look.
Could it be?
You know, I never meant to keep making a name for myself, but old habits die hard, don't they? Sounds like quite the handsome fella. Can't wait to meet him.